Hi everybody, how is everybody? If you are watching this, then do just put a wee like if you can, or if you're watching it on the replay, which is completely fine, then do just let me know that you're watching it on the replay. So, I'm coming on today, so hi Janie, hi. I'm coming on today to talk about how to get to the end of the day without losing your temper, or how to losing it in general, because it might not be your temper. For some people it can just be like breaking down in tears or whatever. So, and the way that I think about this is, many years ago I had 2-year-old twins and a little baby, and the 2-year-old twins were potty training, and I just remember really struggling and really losing it. Day after day I would really lose it, and the way that I describe that is that it would be my own temper, my own tantrums, and my own like throwing things, and these like big huge emotions. So and it took me a long time to start really learning like about emotional regulation, how to regulate myself. And I remember that at that time, and it might be something that you're experiencing, is that I remember lying awake at night and thinking, oh my goodness, like I'm such a terrible mum, like for like behaving like that. Like, what am I doing to my children? And really thinking in that way, and thinking like I'm a really bad human, I'm awful, I'm damaging my children from shouting like this, and I'm just really not a very nice person. This like rage that would come out of absolutely nowhere. And I've spoken quite often about that, because I think that we need to have these really big discussions about things that are really hard for us. And it's really hard. So I've got a notification. And it's really hard to manage these things. So I think it's really important that we have these discussions and we start to lose some of the shame around it, so that actually we can get the help, like when at the right time. So I thought it'd be helpful to talk about how I've learned to get to the end of the day. So I've now got 4 children. I've got a 2-year-old. So I thought it'd be really helpful to talk about how I get to the end of the day, and how I've supported my own clients to get to the end of the day without completely losing it, and ways that you can support yourself to do that. So, and I think often it's not necessarily what we think it is. So going back to that example, like when I was potty training the children, it's not the fact that they were pooing and peeing everywhere that was the struggle. The struggle was I was on my own, and I felt really isolated. I felt really lonely. I really struggled. It was really relentless. I felt unheard. I felt unsupported. This is the reality of how often a lot of us feel in these situations, and a lot of the time we don't talk about it. And it's that struggle that's really difficult. So it's that internal struggle, like I really need a break. When is this going to end? And I could hear myself, and I'm sure that you can recognise a lot of this, that I could hear myself thinking, when is this going to end? I need a break. Is it ever going to get any easier? Will this ever end? Will it get better? And having that constant internal struggle, and why is it just me that's having to deal with it? Why is this just my responsibility? And really having that sort of really becoming like a martyr, and feeling like a martyr to it all. So, and becoming really bitter and twisted. So the impact was massive. So the impact was huge in terms of my relationships with my partner, with my husband, sorry, I should say. He's still my husband. My relationship with my children, relationship with other people, other members of my family, the impact is absolutely massive. So, and it impacts your sleep, because you lie there at night. And your whole nervous system is completely and utterly dysregulated, so you're not sleeping properly anyway, because you've got all this cortisol running through your body, making you feel very stressed and very anxious, and then catastrophizing about when is it ever going to get any better. And I'm sure a lot of that you can really recognize. So the impact not being able to manage these is massive, because it impacts your sleep, your general well-being, how you approach life, and how you feel about yourself. If you're feeling pretty rubbish about yourself because you're not being a very nice person, then it has a cascading effect, doesn't it? It has a compound effect that it doesn't really you don't then feel okay then about spending the time doing the things that you want to do. So, but the biggest issue is these internal battles that we have. So these internal dialogues, these internal struggles that we have. And I'm sure you can recognise that. So you've got one part of you that's saying, oh, you should be able to manage this a bit better, and another part of you that's just feeling completely crumbling. And you've got all these different parts of you just completely battling all the time and trying to take over and trying to get your attention and trying to manage it. And that's a bit that we need to work with. So, because we can't change our children's behaviour, and I'm sure that you have spent hours reading up about sleep and weaning and how to manage your children's behaviour and children's behaviour in general, and how to make it better. You know, we all have, haven't we? So we've all spent ages and ages doing that, listening to podcasts and reading and then trying different approaches. But actually, the bit we need to really focus on is internally, because I'm sure, like me, you've had days where you've had, like, you feel really good about yourself and you're able to manage the situation a lot better because you're not having all those internal dialogues and all those internal struggles all the time. So it's really about starting to work with a lot of those internal struggles and those internal dialogues. So starting to get to the end of the day without losing it, things that are really important to think about is really starting to recognise, what is that internal dialogue? What is really going on here? Is it the fact that I'm not coping with the situation? Or is it the fact that within this, that I'm feeling like my own needs are being not met? Is it the fact is that I'm feeling alone? Is it the fact is that I'm resenting somebody? Is it the fact is that I'm exhausted? Is it the fact is it feels relentless? What is going on? What is that internal battle? And it's there that is really important to capture. So we can't change our situations, but we can change ourselves within that. And a lot of that is about changing that internal battle, that internal dialogue that's happening all the time, which is absolutely exhausting and can make us feel completely frazzled and overwhelmed. So, and then it's starting to disrupt that pattern. So the approach that I generally use is emotional freedom technique, EFT. And the reason why I love EFT is because it's quick, you can do it anywhere, you don't need to wait to get yourself to a dark room, you don't need to put your headphones in, you can just sit and tap. And even if you're holding on to a baby, you can tap, and just literally 5 minutes of EFT, of tapping, can really support to engage the rational brain, start getting you to think much more logically, can really disrupt that pattern and disrupt that cycle. And start helping you to feel a lot better. So a really simple type of approach would be just thinking about that thing. So if, for example, you're struggling and you're feeling that you've been left alone, or that you're feeling this is never ever going to end. So I remember when I first set up Overcome the Overload, the reason why I set it up was one night I was up at night with my baby, and I was thinking, God, when is he ever going to sleep? When is he ever going to sleep through the night? And I could feel myself catastrophizing about it. So just spending like a moment just tapping. So even though I'm really struggling with the thought this child is never going to sleep, I accept myself. I'm allowed to be struggling with this thought. It's really hard right now. But the truth is, this will pass and this will end. And just tapping really gently along those sort of lines, even though this is a real struggle and I'm really thinking, when is this ever going to end? And I'm exhausted dealing with it. I accept myself for this feeling. I'm allowed to have this feeling. And this will end at some point. You will at some point be at school and sleeping. Even though this is really hard and I'm just thinking, when is it going to get any easier? I accept myself for this feeling. And right now I'm okay. And I know that at some point in time, he will have left home and I'll really miss him. So thinking like along those sort of lines, and then just gentle tapping. So I'm really struggling. It's really, so that specific example, just thinking it's really hard that he's up late at night and he's still feeding, and it's really hard and it's making me feel emotional and I'm catastrophizing and it's really, really, really difficult. And I'm finding this a really difficult process. And I'm allowed to recognise this is hard. I'm allowed to feel that this is hard. And I accept myself for feeling that way. It doesn't make me a bad person. It just means that right now, the feeling that I have is that this is hard. And I'm allowed to have this feeling. I'm allowed to feel this way. But this will end. This bit of my life will end. At some point in time, whether it's next month, next year, next decade, at some point in time, this will end. And I'll miss him. And I accept this will end at some point in time. And this will end. And just doing that, literally 5 minutes of tapping and that 5 minute of EFT really started to improve that experience. So my target right now is to try and get as many mums as possible to start learning EFT. And the reason why I want them to start learning EFT is because what I believe is that literally that 5 minute intervention would make a massive, massive, massive difference to how we feel, would help us to reduce that feeling of overwhelm, reduce all those internal battles, reduce the exhaustion that's taken up and the headspace taken up by all those battles, and it would just make us feel much better. So it'll help you to show up as that really amazing mum that you can be. If you would like to know more, I'm running a free 5-day challenge from the 5th of October, running for 5 days. So it's 5 minutes of EFT for 5 days, and it'll be really results driven. So at the start of it, you'll be sent a questionnaire which you can complete, and then complete the questionnaire at the end, and you can see the difference from the start of the week to the end of the week. If you would like to know more, then I'm going to put a link underneath this so that you can join this challenge, and I'm really excited to share it with you and share EFT with you. If you think that one of your friends would like this, then do let them know too. Take care. Bye-bye.